Welcome, my name is Colleen Tauke and I'm the sewing specialist here at Fons and Porter. In this Sew Easy, I'm going to show you how to create string piecing, and we have multiple ways of doing this and a variety of ways they can be used. You can see the quilt behind me. The entire center of this quilt, called String Me Along, is made all with string pieced blocks. The quilt that you see in front of me, this little one, King Coterie, is the string blocks or string piece blocks are used just as a focus within the center of blocks. So you can use string piecing in many ways. I've got an example of a string piece block here on the work surface, and you can see there are a variety of strips and different widths put together, and we have a variety of different bases that you can use to keep your piecing looking great. So that's what I want to introduce you to. I'm going to show that you've got permanent stabilizer that you can use as the base, and this stays in the block and in your quilt when it's finished. It's very soft. It's stable enough so it won't distort when you're working on it. It gives a nice finished product. And the quilt behind me was created using a permanent stabilizer like this. Then you can use just simple pieces of fabric as a base. You would probably want to pick a neutral, like an unbleached muslin or a simple gray or something as a background for your block so it doesn't change the color. But again, that works as a stabilizer to keep your blocks nice. And you can also use just simple paper. The feature blocks in King Coterie were using paper as their base. And you're going to be stitching through all those layers. And this one, though, the paper is removed as you make your patchwork. So let's start on one here. I have a variety, gone through and taken a selection of fabrics that you can see here in this completed block, and I just cut up different widths of fabrics so that I could then just design as I went. So I stacked all the like sizes together, so I know that if I have put in a really narrow piece and I want to get a darker or a wider one, I can go to the next step. So the fun part is going through and arranging, getting all your fabrics prepared, probably press all of them, cut into the desired widths, and then start work on your block. Now when we start to work on these, you start with the center. So you would, and if, for example, in this block, lay a piece that goes diagonally, and it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, just designer's choice at this point. If you wanted a different angle, you could start off to one side. The quilt behind me with the black and white polka dot, a specific piece was cut to start, and then you layered out from that. But we're going to do just simple straight pieces here. So I'm going to lay this down the center of the block, right side up, and then I'm going to be adding, let's add a navy blue piece next. Now this is a great way to use up leftover binding pieces, fabrics from kits maybe you've done in the past and you didn't want to throw away the leftover fabric. So what we can do here is I'm going to place these right sides together, just like this. Now I've cut my pieces longer than my base, which is what I want to do because I'm going to trim when I'm done. And I'm just going to put in a couple of pins so that as I move this to the sewing machine, it won't slide out of place. And what I'm doing is lining the cut edges here, and then using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just drop in simple stitching line. And realize you can use a variety of widths here. You can go probably not any smaller than maybe 3/4 of an inch. Remember, you have to worry about your seam allowance. If you cut a 1/2 inch strip, there won't be anything left once you've taken seam allowances. So nothing that small, but it's a great way to accent. You can use an entire collection of fabrics. So you can do scrappy. You can pick all reproduction fabrics or red, white, and blues. It's kind of a fun way to create blocks a little more freeform than we're used to. Okay, so right sides together, they're stitched there. I'm going to open it up. And I'm just going to finger press quickly here so we can move on to the next strip. Oh, I made one little stitch in the wrong spot. When you sit down to your sewing machine, make sure you have it set for a 1/4 inch seam so that your needle drops in the proper place. Okay, now I can then just keep building up from that, go down to another color fabric. How about a bright red? If I lay this on here, I'm testing to see that it's the right length. I would then put right sides together, stitch in the same manner as I did the first, and open it out. Once I've completed one side, then I can come in and I can fill the other side. Now I've got examples of blocks done here. So let's bring in one with the lightweight stabilizer. You can see here the real light line, that you can see that square of stabilizer. All the fabrics, it covers all the way to the outside edges. Notice that my pieces get shorter as I approach that outside edge of my base, and I cover the entire thing. Now, I can also do the same thing with the muslin. So I've done the same thing there and with the paper. So you can stitch through paper just like fabric. The whole reason for the base is to keep things from becoming distorted. Now when you get to the entire block covered, you go in and trim. Now this block, I believe, is cut how much was it? I can't remember the size I had cut. 7.5, so it would finish a 7-inch block. And so then I can just go in. Now I don't want to trim the paper away at this point. I want to trim just the block. So I'm going to go there, rotate and go all the way around till I have a nice 7.5-inch square block finished out. Now, because this one is the paper foundation, I'm not going to remove the paper yet until I would stitch this to, and say in kinnikottery, it's got white borders that go around it. Once it's stitched to another fabric, that is the point where you release the paper or tear away the paper on the back side. Those with just the cotton fabric or the lightweight permanent stabilizer, those stay in the whole time. I do want to show you though, because this is the paper one, how easy it is, because we're using a short stitch length, to remove the paper. And like I said, it would be stitched into something before you remove the paper, but people always want to know, how do you take the paper out? So just by simply kind of releasing it at the stitching line, just tear along, and it just kind of perforates itself and removes itself there. So that's how you make string blocks. Thanks for joining me today.